Correct, that's correct. I was extremely disappointed by what the government provided for mental health in this year's budget. The government has provided just 24 million additional funding for mental health in budget 2022. This is a decrease from 50 million that was provided last year. This is woefully inadequate and shows that they are out of touch with reality. They have not recognised the mental health challenges ordinary people are facing. Minister Mary Butler announced an additional 47 million, which is still down on last year, by the way. Yet Minister McGrath, in his budget speech, said, and I quote, 37 million to fund the expansion of mental health services. But the expenditure report stated that only 24 million is provided for new funding for mental health. So let's drill down into these figures. Of the 47 million announced by the government, 10 million is one-off funding unspent from last year. This 10 million cannot be used for new services, it cannot be used for employment of staff, and must be spent in the next 78 days. This is like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. 13 million is for existing levels of services. This is funding that was already pre-committed and does not represent actual real additional funding. It is standing still money. So basically, we are left with a 24 million increase, which is a 52% drop from last year. This is more smoke and mirror tactics by the government. In the midst of a global pandemic and reports of people desperate for mental health supports, this government have failures. They are out of touch, out of ideas and out of time. The government is banging the drum that 1.1 billion is allocated for mental health this year. Just to put that into context, this is almost the exact same amount of funding that was allocated in 2008. It's taken 13 years to get back to 2008 levels. 2022 budget means that only 5.1% of the health budget is for mental health. When Sláinte Care recommends 10% of the health budget should go to mental health, and international best practice recommends up to 16%. The state is in the grips of a mental health crisis, and this crisis demands an emergency response and substantial ongoing commitments, funding commitments. This is a failed opportunity to significantly increase funding for mental health services. It shows yet again the lack of understanding by the government of the shortfall of our current services or the extent of the growing demands for mental health services. So what I'm constantly asked the question is, what would Sinn Féin do? And it's simple. If I was Minister for Mental Health, I would just put the needs of workers and families first. I would make it easier for people to access the mental health care they need, when they need it and where they need it. Sinn Féin not only produced an alternative budget or an alternative mental health budget, we also produced an alternative mental health budget. Sinn Féin proposed an additional 114 million for urgently needed investment in child and adolescent mental health and primary mental health care services, expanding counselling to universal coverage, investing in dual diagnosis supports and access to 24/7 emergency mental health care, 8 additional eating disorder teams across the state, a comprehensive perinatal service for the whole island and other measures. It would have been the biggest investment in mental health in the history of this state. And not only is this budget fully costed by the government departments, it also has to go through the offices of my comrades of Pearse Doherty and Mairead Farrell. So the level of scrutiny that Sinn Féin put into this, if one decimal point was out of place, Pearse Doherty would have sent me back to the drawing board. So, Minister, if I was Minister for Mental Health, I would deliver on these promises and people would start to get the mental health care they need, when they need it and where they need it.